I gotta be honest with you. I'm a little intimidated of wine. I don't know why it is. I can drink a liquid. You're never like, hey, water, huh? I get subtle notes of water here. It doesn't happen. But with wine, it feels like if you're not smart, you're not doing it right. And I'm not that smart. Why can't I just enjoy some wine without getting subtle notes of pine and other stuff? Our next guest is going to simplify wine for you. It's going to make wine more accessible for those of us that just don't have the palate to make out the little nutty flavors.
Thank you, Sean. Elizabeth Schneider. She is the host of a podcast called Wine for Normal People. And we thank you so much for joining us, Elizabeth. Let's demystify wine, can we?
I think so, but I also think there's something to be said that's good about it being a little mystical, isn't there? Otherwise, wouldn't it be sort of boring if it wasn't at all mystical?
It's just beer.
It's been around 8,000 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be something there. No, yeah. But I was listening to what you were saying, and it is true. There's a high barrier to entry with wine, but if you reorient it, I think in two ways, it will make it easier. The first one is to think of it like farming. And I think that if you really understand that wine is not like beer and it's not like booze, right? It's an agricultural product and they rely on the crop every year. That's why there's a number on the bottle. The vintage is what the weather was that year. So if you think about it that way, know that most of the people that are making the wine are farmers. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is the vocabulary stuff has a lot to do with just the fact that it's evolved so much over the years, but so much of it is snotty and totally unneeded. Yeah. But if you were playing golf, you'd probably have to know some of those terms too, right? You got to know like chipping, and I don't know what golf is, so I have to just make stuff up. Putting, I know that one.
That's one.
Yeah, Eagle.
Is there, okay, so I'm a simple man. I look at the wine, you got like a $40, $70 bottle of wine here. That one's from 900 years ago. Oh my goodness. Is there such a good thing as a bottle of wine that's good under $10?
I would say, yeah, there definitely is. I think you've got to be careful about under $10. $15 is where it really starts to get interesting, to be honest. That's where we start to get some really good stuff. 15 to 25 is like the best wines right now. But under 10, if you're shopping from Portugal or Chile or Spain, you're going to do pretty well. Those are the three where you can really do well. California, no, stay away from those bottles if they're California and under $10. That's not going to work well. If you think about it, the economics just don't work. If you buy a vineyard in California, it's expensive. You have to pay the mortgage. You have to pay high labor costs. It's not that case. It's not the case with other places because they're land rich. They've passed on land through generations. Yeah. So they don't have the mortgage issues. And that can make a big difference. Can you imagine not having a mortgage? That would be nice.
That'd be nice.
That's a great tip. I often gravitate towards certain regions also. Like I've discovered that I love Pinots from New Zealand. Like I know if that's on a menu, I can go to that and I can kind of love that. And I love that you gave a farmer a shout out. My mom actually has 5 acres of wine grapes up in Washington State. Another incredible region, for grapes, certainly. What about food pairings? I mean, could we just kind of trial and error, just pair things with certain dishes and just find out what we like?
Well, I don't actually recommend that because again, this goes back to the learning about wine. And this is my whole thing is about how can we teach you about wine in a way that's going to be comfortable for you? If you know a couple of things about wine and what we call it is the structure of wine. And basically all that means is wine has 4 main components that make it different. It has alcohol, right? So some wines have high alcohol. You don't want to pair that with spicy food because it'll amplify the spice. Some, a tannin, that mouth drying sensation, which pairs very well with things that are fatty or have high protein levels. Acidity, which I know this is going to sound very strange. Acidity pairs very well with acidic foods. So when you combine acidity with something else, and then sugar. Now, I know a lot of people say, I don't like sweet wines. Well, I'm not talking about badly made sweet wines, but there are a lot of wines that have a tiny bit of sugar in them. And with stuff like spice, that's going to take down the spice level, but still allow the flavor to come out. And that's a great bet. So just knowing a little bit about the structure or being able to ask those right questions, knowing the vocabulary gets you so far in pairing. It'll improve your pairing a million times over. I wrote a whole chapter in the book about it. It's really it's so important, but you got to know a little bit to get very far. You can get really far. You know a little bit and get a lot for that knowledge.
Well, honestly,
Neat.
it's very helpful. I mean, for the layman's like myself that have no idea what I'm talking about. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can go to winefornormalpeople.com. It's great having you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.